Oh, Wilhelm Reich, you wacky man. Oh, hey there, Internet. It is me, the artist mostly referred to as Holder539, and I was just doing some last-minute research for the video we're going to do here just now, and probably the next 3 or 4, because the rabbit hole we're going to jump into today is one of epic proportions. So epic indeed that I prepared some notes. I actually typed these out on this here computer. Hope you appreciate that. So yeah, today we're going to talk about Orgonite. Yes, Orgonite, the mysterious substance that helps you utilize an elusive and omnipresent energy called Orgon energy that can be used to do just about anything, from dispelling chemtrails in the sky,
triple induction, ICB, set within 2 binary rings here,
to getting rid of those pesky Illuminati signals coming through your cell phone.
And Orgon is basically garlic to a vampire, and it will transmute the negative cell phone energy into positive Orgon energy,
as well as getting rid of those negative vibes all around you, and it can even heal your mind and body, but this might involve sitting in a box naked for some time, but we're going to get to that, trust me. So, yeah. Today we're going to talk about Orgonite, and I mean, I could use something to block out those Illuminati signals, because the Shadow Masters are on my ass again for not making enough videos propagating our evil lizard agenda. So, what do you say? Let's get ourselves some Orgonite. I bet this stuff is available online. Ah, here we go. This website seems to have some Orgon pyramids for us, and so I think I'll... Oh my, what's that? Okay. So we can just pick up one for the low price. What the fuck?! So let me get this straight. They want like $200 for some metal shavings and what?
Attention! This is an announcement from the New World Order. Please remain calm and stay seated while we are injecting subliminal messages. Welcome to the Cabinet of the Strange and Macabre.
So when I was planning this video, originally I was going to just pick up some of this organ stuff at the local woo peddler, but now that I know what they want for what's essentially just comprised of a bunch of stuff you can just get from Amazon, that's exactly what we're going to do. And yeah, so I'm just going to order a bunch of stuff to build my own organ devices now. So without further ado, I'm a Prime customer, so this is going to be quick. Let me just channel the spirit of Bezos. Okay. I think we can go now. By the power of Bezos, I have the stuff! Ah. So here we are with quite a lot of packages, and they are supposed to contain everything we will need to construct our own Orgon-Pyramid for only a fraction of the cost of what those bougie fucks at the New Age store wanted for theirs. So while I'll get to work and unpack those nice lovely packages here, let's just dive straight into the topic and talk about the myth, the man, the legend, Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich was a doctor of medicine and psychoanalysis who lived from 1897 to 1957. He was a disciple of Sigmund Freud and even served as a deputy director for Freud's clinic, the Vienna Ambulatorium. For the most part of his career, he was a reputable psychoanalyst and author, even though around the 1930s controversy started to taint his public image, because that was about the time he started to go off the deep end. It was in the year 1930 that Reich started his work concerning Orgon energy, and many of his proponents today will tell you that during this work he stumbled upon something that the man doesn't want you to know. Because in 1947, US authorities cracked down on Reich's Orgon Institute due to the wild and mostly unproven claims he was advertising his Orgon devices with. During the first wave of government crackdown, Reich was disallowed from selling any further books on orgon therapy or orgon devices. This court order, however, he would break some years later, leading to a huge burning of some of his merchandise by the US authorities. These government actions against Reich, however, were far from the theory oftentimes echoed in internet forums that the government was looking to somehow suppress the theory of orgon energy. That conspiracy is quickly debunked by the fact that most of Reich's writings are readily available today, even on Amazon. A quick Amazon search for Reich's name will ironically have one of his most controversial works, The Discovery of Orgon Volume 2, The Cancer Biopathy, as one of the first 10 results alongside some of his other books like Character Analysis and The Mass Psychology of Fascism. Another easy way to get your hands on his writings is through the Wilhelm Reich Infant Trust, an organization we'll probably return to at another point in this video series. They have apparently taken up the task of curating Reich's rich academic heritage and operate a Wilhelm Reich museum in Maine. So, one question remains. If there's truly a conspiracy around to silence Reich and his proponents, why exactly did they do such a shitty job at destroying his research material? Did they just stop caring when the 60s came along and there were hippies to worry about? Or was the government more powerful back then? Or were there just more evil Illuminati lizard people around? We'll probably only find out if the FDA shows up and shuts down this video. Until then, let us have a look at Reich's research. As you might have guessed by now, this centerpiece of Reich's theory is the so-called Orgon energy, which he describes as an omnipresent, invisible, massless energy that somehow creates order and structure in everything in the universe, from the microscopic scale over our very bodies up to huge things like galaxies. And due to its alleged omnipresence and masslessness, it is oftentimes by skeptics and critics compared with the outdated concept of ether, but let me assure you, it is something completely different. It is supposedly an energy that works against all entropy in the universe, and it does so by influencing microscopic particles called bions, which were also discovered by Reich. Reich also proposed that almost all health problems could be attributed to either constrictions or deficiencies in orgon energy levels of the body. Luckily, he also thought up various methods of orgon therapy which were aiming at alleviating those constrictions in your body's orgon energy flow through various psychological as well as physiological methods. Especially in the later stages of the research, one big influence on Reich's work was his own interpretation of Sigmund Freud's concept of the libido. Reich came to believe that the natural way of releasing the constrictions in the body's energy flow was through reaching orgasm. This, of course, turned up the controversy surrounding his work to the next level. He had, after all, just proposed that you can cure your psyche through getting your rocks off. For the direction of his work, this mainly meant two things. For once, that he couldn't go on to support No Nut November, and on the other hand, that the formerly mentioned constrictions in orgon energy flow had to be caused by various forms of subconscious sexual self-repression that would keep people from reaching what he called their full orgastic potential. He even started exploring the concept of sexual energy being a form of real physical energy which could have measurable effects on the world surrounding us. At the same time, he'd come to give a bigger role in his theory to our physical bodies, especially our muscles, professing that their contractions would coalesce with constrictions in the flow of orgon energy. He therefore juxtaposed anxiety and contractions with lust and relaxation, and also come up with the idea that massaging the body and doing various exercises could be combined with psychoanalysis to more effectively cure people's mental state by helping them release their pent-up energy. He called this concept vegetotherapy. Reich eventually refined the idea of contractions and relaxations as correspondent to anxiety and pleasure to propose that pleasure is actually just the undisturbed flow of orgon energy from the body, while anxiety is caused by a conflux of orgon energy towards the body's center. When he tried to combine these findings with various concepts from microbiology and neurophysiology, this should lead him to his next big discovery, the formerly mentioned biones. In 1938, he wrote a book called Die Bionen, in which he posited the idea of microscopic energy bubbles called biones, which apparently were the results of decaying processes of organic and inorganic matter and were charged with orgon energy. He claimed that the energy contained in those biones could charge not only objects such as wool or sand or a piece of wood, but also living organisms to a point where it would be measurable with an electroscope. This, however, was just the least amongst the weirder claims which Reich made about his research. While I don't really know or care to find out how he collected data on that topic, one of the more outlandish ones was that people suffering from psychological problems like neurosis would give off enough orgon energy just from their genitals and their stomach area to charge a piece of wood over a period of 15 to 20 minutes. There also were further experiments with electroscopes, leading him to believe that orgon energy was present not only in all living organisms, but also the ground and the atmosphere. Based on that idea, Reich made several inventions, including the so-called Cloudbuster, as well as some orgon-based ray guns intended to shoot down alien UFOs. That aspect of Reich's work we are going to explore some more in the next episode of this series, when I'm going to answer the question how sex magic helps us fight the evil space Nazis living behind the moon. Right now, however, we will concentrate on his efforts to collect and produce orgon energy and have a look at Wilhelm Reich's most noteworthy invention, the orgon collector, which vaguely sounds like a dude who comes to your house to steal your kidneys, but trust me, that's not the case. So, how do you collect a weightless, massless, omnipresent energy? Well, in a box, of course!
What's in the box?
What did you think? The idea behind the orgon generator was that orgon energy supposedly would penetrate different materials at different rates and would even be drawn to some materials. Reich thought that he could use that property of orgon energy to create orgon-free spaces as well as atmospheres enriched with the energy. Among the materials which supposedly would attract orgon energy were wood, rubber and cotton, while materials Reich thought of as inorganic, for example metal, were supposed to reflect the energy. To enrich the atmosphere of a space with Orgon energy, Reich would construct a wooden box and then encase it in metal. On top of the inorganic metal layer, another organic layer would be placed, then another inorganic one. Every repetition of that process was supposed to make the organ collector more effective. Over the course of his research, Reich came to believe that plastic was actually a much more efficient orgon absorber than wood, and thus it would go on to replace the wooden paneling of his original organ collector's insides. Two additional factors influencing the effectivity of an organ collector are, according to Reich, the moisture in the air, where 40 to 50% are optimal conditions, and the position relative to the ocean's level, because supposedly organ generators work better the higher above sea level they stand. Another interesting piece of lore about the organ collector is that if operational, they were supposed to have a bunch of interesting side effects, like influencing the direction compass needles were pointing in, as well as creating some glowing atmospheric disturbances.
Aurora Borealis? Aurora Borealis!
And heightening the temperature inside the collector's chamber, which isn't very surprising considering that the therapeutic use of the device was to climb inside it and sit there naked for a while. At one point, Reich apparently even sent one of his organ collectors to famous physicist Albert Einstein. You know, that mad lad with the crazy hairstyle who you might know for that relativity thing he discovered? Einstein, however, wasn't very impressed with the organ collector, and after an exchange of letters initiated by Reich himself, as well as a personal meeting, Einstein went on to test for some of the side effects which Reich claimed the organ collector would have on its environment, only to eventually dismiss Reich's whole idea and accuse him of confirmation bias, as well as a rushed and faulty methodology in many of his experiments. This, of course, didn't deter Wilhelm Reich, however, otherwise I probably wouldn't be making this video series. That was informative, wasn't it? But you might be wondering why none of the objects on the table before me look like a giant rectangular box one could sit in naked. And the reason for that I'll tell you in a minute. But first, let's go over some of the nice stuff I just unboxed off camera. First off, we got those lovely styrofoam thingies. No relevance actually, but I just found it quite entertaining that the thing that was marked as fragile and packaged with those styrofoam bits were those 3 sacks of metal. In here we have metal shavings. Here we have iron. Here we have some other stuff. I think it's like zinc or something. I don't know. And here we have some copper. And the reason I don't know what this stuff is actually that the labels are all written in German. So I don't know. But here we have a lovely sack of quartz, because for what we are going to do, it's pretty important to have some quartz, as well as these fancy chemicals here, and some pyramid shapes. And actually, apparently the hardest to come by and one of the most expensive ingredients for the whole organ pyramid thingy is to actually find a shape for your pyramid to actually put the resin in and have it harden without losing its form. So the ones I bought are made of silicon, and I hope they will do their job, but we'll definitely need some bigger forms for what I have planned for the second part of the series. And two further amusing things were among the packaging for the metal bits were those gummy bears. So apparently a random person on Amazon found it necessary to send me those. Thank you for that. I really hope they're not poisoned, but why would they be? I mean, I just left a bunch of money with you. So now the last thing I really want to know is what is inside this this pink box. So yeah, what's in the box? Because I really don't remember ordering anything that is supposed to come in a pink box. But I mean, just seeing what I have on the table in front of me, this only can be more quartz. And yeah, I think I'm right. In here we have a little sack, and this sack is making some sounds that I could have probably used for my ASMR video. So let's see what is inside. And yeah, here are our quartz crystals. While these are just some small ones, the use of which you will see in a minute here. These ones actually are the ones that are much too protected by plastic shit. So here you have one of them. You will notice that they are double-edged, and this is supposed to mean something for those new agey crystal people. But yeah, only the best crystals for our Orgonite. And why we need crystals for our Orgonite, you can't really tell by now, because you haven't seen the next part of the video. So here is the last bit of history, because you will actually need it to understand why I'll be doing what I'll be doing, instead of building a box and sitting inside of it naked. It's a really nice quartz.
Orgonite, like it is known on the internet today, is not actually an invention of Wilhelm Reich, although it is based on his concept of Orgon energy and quite similar in composition and principle to some of Reich's Orgon collectors. The idea of Orgon pyramids, however, is a much younger one. In the year 2000, an American couple by the names of Carol and Don Croft had the idea of combining Reich theory with modern New Age beliefs in crystal healing. Their idea was to encase crystals with layers of plastic resin and metal shavings, materials Reich had theorized would attract Orgon energy, the plastic attracting it from the atmosphere and the metal reflecting it. This would supposedly boost the crystal's beneficial properties and have a number of other effects. According to an article on the Crofts I found on a page called Encyclopedia of American Loons, the couple believes in a wide variety of alternative practices. A quote from Don Croft featured in the encyclopedia reads the following: "There are books that can teach you the properties of gemstones and minerals, and these properties are greatly enhanced by Orgonite. My favorite, because it is based on a combination of intuition and empirical testing, is Michael Ginger's Crystal Power, Crystal Healing. I don't personally care much for channeled literature, because there is no science behind it. Science and spirituality are inseparable, in my opinion. Leaving one or the other out of our personal lives leaves us either materialistic or superstitious, but when they're in harmony, we're empowered and intelligent." While this quote gives us some idea of how the Orgon community and the Crofts see their product, I have my problems with how they have approached implementing Reich's ideas. When thinking through the transition from Reich's Orgon collectors to the pyramids, one question arises right off the bat. While the collectors would consist of an inner chamber which would be encased in layers of resin and metal, the pyramids have no such thing. The whole idea behind the collectors was that the Orgon energy would be drawn to that inner chamber where the atmosphere would be enriched with it. The pyramids, however, neither have an inner chamber nor are they big enough to sit in them. They do, however, oftentimes feature a quartz crystal placed in the pyramid's center. Then the Orgon energy is supposed to be drawn to the crystal, I guess, and that's what enhances the crystal's properties, whatever those properties might be. But my basic problem with that is that in addition to Reich's concept of an invisible, massless energy which acts upon everything in the universe, we now also have to buy into crystal healing. While we are going to see in the second part of this series that this is by far not the only wacky thing the Crofts believe in. For now, let's just get to the meat of the issue. Let's build an organ pyramid. Like the thing we've been talking about all this time, not a pyramid made of organs, but one made of orgonite. They probably should have named those things Orgonite-Pyramids, although the organ thing sounds pretty metal. Or is it actually pronounced Orgone? Well, I've been messing that up for the entirety of this video, so why stop now?
So the day has come for our assembly of the Orgon-Pyramid, and before we get started, a few last things. First off, here we have another lovely package that was late for the big unboxing scene, but now it has arrived, and it contains these 5 little boxes of white powder, and no, it is not what you think. It is obviously cocaine. Or it is. It might also be some glowing substance. Yeah, because this is what I actually ordered in case that there wouldn't be any cool aerial phenomena over our pyramids.
Before we get started here, I guess I should also inform you that epoxide resin is in fact a skin irritant, and that you thus shouldn't really get it on your skin or all the other nice places where you shouldn't usually get chemicals, like your mouth or your eyes or your ears. I don't actually know if it does anything to your ears, but please don't get it there, and also don't touch it without gloves until it is fully dried. The second tricky thing about the resin is that there doesn't seem to be any clear dosing instruction on how much of the hardening compound to use. Even the packaging just tells you to use 50 to 60 milliliters on 100 milliliters of the resin, and after having at this point built 6 organ pyramids, including the one I totally messed up, I can tell you with some certainty that the amount of hardening compound used determines if the mixture needs a few hours to harden, or even a day, or if it will harden at all. And since all the surplus resin tends to dry up before it is time to apply the next layer, the gamble with the hardening compound has to be won time and time again. To do anything with a hardening compound, however, it is vital to first get the bloody bottle open, and I had my problems with that because, as it turned out, the opening mechanism that was supposed to secure the bottle had apparently taken some damage in the mail, and I had to pry it off with a screwdriver. But with that additional safety concern, hopefully not everybody has to deal. Otherwise, the construction of an organ pyramid is pretty straightforward. Just fill the resin and the hardening compound in some sort of sufficient container, ideally a measuring beaker like the one I used, and even more ideally one that you're not planning on using again because it will be ruined. Then prepare your workspace with a few trash bags or a tarp to avoid spills, and stir the chemicals in the beaker until they have fully mixed and the resulting fluid is clear. When the mixture is ready, it should stay malleable enough to work with it for at least an hour, so you don't have to really stress, but you should keep in mind that it will get more viscous over time.
We have encountered a problem. While the resin in the pyramids is hardening a bit, and it's not really that hard that I could put up the next layer, this stuff here seems to be hardening much quicker, so I'll have to start a third pyramid, or all this epoxide will be completely wasted. So, third pyramid, go! And since this is the phosphorus resin, this will also be a glowing one, I hope. At least if those resin people want a glowing review from me. So, it's kind of hard to gauge how much is already in there. this might have been a wee bit too big of a piece, and since our resin is already hardening, I think I'll have to like just shove it in there like. Okay. Still looks like crap, so let's just add some more of the resin.
Now the building process itself is pretty straightforward. Just take your resin and pour it into one of the silicon forms. How thick the individual layers are going to be is left up to your imagination, and of course to a certain point the size of your forms. After pouring the resin, you should decide if the layer is supposed to be an organic or an inorganic one, and according to your decision put in some crystals or some metal. Then wait a few hours until the layer is dry and repeat the process, alternating between organic and inorganic. If you're willing to go the extra mile, you can even try doing what some people online seem to do and equip the Orgon-Pyramid with a quartz core that in many cases seems to run through all the layers. It was for that purpose that I bought the long quartz pieces with the two pointy edges, because I thought their form would make it pretty easy to secure them in the middle of a pyramid. What should I say? I was wrong. While my first instinct was to just shove the quartz into the liquid first layer, it proved pretty difficult to keep it from falling over and sticking to the side of the form. My second idea was to wait until the layer is about halfway dry and then just insert the quartz with some force. But this idea didn't prove all that useful, since I realized later that epoxide expands slightly while drying, causing the second crystal to also fall over. In the end, the only halfway reliable method of securing a quartz smack dab in the middle seems to be to first fill in the liquid resin, then a bunch of metal shavings, and then carefully nestle the quartz in between them and pray to the elder gods that it won't fall over. I won't lie, it's a crapshoot. I guess at this point I should also mention that none of the sources I consulted in the making of this video had anything to say about mixing your resin with fluorescent paint, so I just decided to do so because I thought it might look cool in the end. So, since you might have figured out by now that I'm not all that convinced by the whole concept of Orgon energy, I just decided to order some fluorescent pigment powder off Amazon and just mix it in with some of the batches of resin. With everything we have learned so far about Orgon energy, I don't see how this should inhibit the performance of our pyramids. And who knows, maybe it will even make them better. When testing our pyramids in part 2 of this video series, we will also see if one of the metals used is preferable over the others, and if the pyramids have any effects at all, how they are influenced by the types and concentrations of metal used. So, to diversify our tests for next time and to use up some of the huge surplus of materials we still have, I will be building some further Orgon pyramids, and I'll be experimenting with different designs and compositions. I have, for example, seen different versions of Orgon pyramids online where the quartz core in the middle is wrapped in an individual layer of copper wire. I have also seen some people who have managed to get their hands on much bigger forms and therefore are producing huge Orgon pyramids. I might actually try to build some bigger forms myself, because the only ones I could find on Amazon were the 8 cm ones, which are the biggest ones I am using at the moment. Another differentiating factor between different Orgonite-based devices seems to be their form. While I, for now, will only be producing the 4-sided and the 3-sided pyramids, other interesting ones include the so-called tower busters, which seem to consist of half spheres, which are created by pouring the ingredients into a muffin mold, as well as some droplet-shaped amulets, which are likely molded in a very similar fashion. I also had the idea of maybe making some dice, but this should be a project for another time. In any case, the choice of mold should be a well thought out one, since the last hurdle you'll have to face in making an Orgon pyramid is to free the dried pyramid from the mold. With the silicon forms I was using, this wasn't all that difficult, although even with the highly flexible silicon forms I had to do some cautious prying to free the fully hardened pyramids from their silicon prisons without scratching or breaking them. I managed to do so for the most part, but I can only imagine how much this step has to suck if you're using, for example, a steel mold. And lastly, after the pyramids have been separated from their respective molds, it might be the case that some of them have some rubbery spots, especially in the bottommost layer. Those, however, can be gotten rid of by turning the pyramid onto a hardened side to let the other ones finish the hardening process outside the mold.
So this just was the first time we had a pyramid that was a dud, and I had to get rid of it, and I don't know which layer exactly was the faulty one, so I can't really tell if this pyramid, which also seems to still be pretty icky and gooey and stuff. I don't really know if this one will harden properly either, or this one.
And even if after an additional day of drying there are still wet or rubbery spots on the pyramid, not all hope is lost, since one promising technique I've been trying out to save one of the Orgon pyramids that didn't turn out 100% solid is applying clear varnish to the side where the rubbery spot is at. This seems promising so far, although I don't know if epoxide reacts to varnish in any way. If it will do so, I'll get back to that in part 2 of the video series.
Quick update on this disgusting mess in my garbage bin. I had to throw out another one of the pyramids, the one in this mold, because it just wouldn't dry. It is Monday now. I put it in there on Friday evening, I think, and yeah, 2 days, and it didn't dry at all. So I thought, screw that, and just threw it out, because I needed the form to try again, because as you can see here, we only have one form with 4 sides. All the other are 3-sided pyramids, and the Shadow Masters don't like that one bit. No, no, no.
Well, hello there everybody. This is the end of the video, I guess. So we were successful. We managed to construct not one but 4 Orgon pyramids, with 2 further ones like drying off right over there off camera. Next time they'll be ready, and we'll have at least 6 of those things to play around with and test a few conspiracy theories. But until then, for now, this is a finished product of this video. Everything went quite well, even if my eye is hurting a bit. But look at this nice pyramid. Even though my eye is really hurting, but only the one. But look at this pyramid. Anyhow, I hope you all had fun, and I hope you'll be back for part 2, which will no doubt be there in just a few weeks or months, depending on how motivated I'll feel. And until then, we have some cool pyramids, and even if those things turn out to have no mythical properties at all, we at least still have these nice glow-in-the-dark ones, and I guess we can at least go around selling them at blacklight parties. So this is in no way a complete loss, and to celebrate that, there will be a bit of bonus content, and I have procured this wonderful book about crystals and their healing properties, not the one that Don Croft wanted us to buy, but no doubt it's a good one, and I've marked the chapters about the stones that I've used, and so here we have the basic quartz, which in German is called Bergkristall, and yeah,
I'll just have a quick read over what it's supposed to do according to this book, and this is a lot. It's supposed to be good for the heart, for the lungs, and even for your digestion if you put it on your navel chakra. So yeah, chakra theory is a thing that we also have to pay attention to now, I guess. But apparently this kind of quartz can heal supposedly about anything if you put it on the right spot in your body instead of a bloody pyramid. But we've done the latter, so no point changing that now. And secondly, here we have the second type of quartz, the one mostly known in Germany as Rosenquarz, and I really don't feel like actually looking up the English word for that thing. So yeah, but let me tell you what it does according to this book. It does some things. It helps you sleep. It helps you sleep. So that's quite nice. And but more interestingly, this book tells you to take a bunch of these quartzes and put them in front of your television and your computer and your telephone to keep out all that nasty electromagnetism or something like that. They don't really make it clear, but I think we're covered, at least for the computer. So yeah, with that, this has been the Cabinet of the Strange and Macabre. I am R.A. Smitty, and this has been yet another audio-visual presentation. And yeah, the credits are about to start, like now. Now. Well then, I think I'll just have to initiate that myself. Me ladies.